Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we thought there's so much talk of artificial intelligence over the past couple of years. The seminal iPhone moment for AI, the reason it's become so common and ubiquitous, happens to be ChatGPT. That's the whole world of generative AI, but there's so much happening and there's so many questions. I can see a bunch of question marks in the audience. Is it a boon? Is it a bane? Will it take away my job? Will it augment my job? Well, these are answers we are seeking today with two very special guests, and I'll walk and talk you through what the format of this conversation will be like. We believe a little less conversation, a little more action. So, my guests for the evening are Vyshak Venugopalan, Director of Solution Consulting, Adobe India. A huge round of applause, please. And Samik Roy, Executive Director, India and South Asia, Microsoft India. Samik, Vyshak, what a pleasure to have you with us here at the India Today Conclave. So we want to start off with giving you guys a visual representation of what artificial intelligence is all about. These guys are working on some of the most cutting-edge products in the tech world, and I can vouch for that. But we want to show you, maybe Vyshak, why don't you join us on stage right over here? And very quickly, tell everyone, or show everyone, what AI can potentially do. A huge round of applause for Vyshak Venugopalan.
Thank you, Ayush. Such a pleasure to be here. And I thought with a 5-minute introduction to show you probably 15 slides, only to actually change my mind and show you the real stuff. What is generative AI is all about? How does it look like? At Adobe, we have been working for more than 10 years on AI and generative AI. And let's see the magic of generative AI, which is your imagination's new best friend. If I can get my feed in here. Yeah, there you go. Let me go ahead and start with a prompt, which is, let's say, as you can see, a very busy evening. Can you see that at the bottom? This is Adobe Firefly. And I'm going to go ahead and say that, let's get started. Generate an image based on this prompt. In order to make it pop, I have added stuff like bubbles and rainbows and the following, right? So if I can get that over here, yeah, there you go. Let's see what the AI is going to imagine about this particular prompt. I can always change the size of this particular images. As you can see, I've just changed it to 16 by 9. There you go. There is rainbow, there is bubbles, but I want a 16 by 9, so it's working on that. And if the internet gods are with us today, it should pop up. There you go.
Wow. Vyshak, this is all live image generation. I could type something else and it would still work.
Absolutely. It's not just live image generation, but all of this, it's taking a little bit of time to get the fourth one out. I hope it comes out. But all of these images are commercially safe for you to use. We'll talk about that in a second. What we are doing here is we are asking the generative AI to imagine about this prompt of India Gate, bubbles, and rainbows and flowers that's actually in there. It doesn't stop there. I can now take this particular image, modify, let's say, only certain sections, amplify certain colors, certain objects, let's say add more people. I can do that right over here. If I can move back to my slides, there you go. I have a pop quiz for everyone in here. There are 4 images, and these are generated using the prompt, beautiful sunset at the beach. There are 4 images, pop quiz. Which one do you think is an original?
Okay, quick show of hands. Image number 1, is that original or AI generated?
1.
So now,
okay.
is 1 AI generated? Okay, there's 1 hand. What about image 2? Is that AI generated? A lot of smartphone camera enthusiasts here. What about image 3? Is that AI generated? Yes. And the last one, image 4? Any show of hands? All right, Vyshak.
My apologies, I didn't want to pull a fast one on you. The fact is, all 4 of them are generated by generative AI. The point I want to make here is that it's indistinguishable from the work that you would literally take a camera and shoot a picture versus what is generated by generative AI. Is that good? Is that bad? It's a little bit of both. It is good because it amplifies the creative production cycles. If you are generating 5 images today, probably you can generate 50 with the same time, because that is what is needed in the creative economy. India, as a creative economy, we need to produce faster, more efficient creative content, and that's what we at Adobe strive to actually achieve.
Super, Vyshak. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Why don't you join me here? And Samik, over to you. Are you going to level up on what Vyshak just did right now?
Thank you. Good afternoon. If you can just slightly switch to my slide. First, this image was generated by Copilot in less than 15 seconds. So let me start by asking all of you a question. How many of you, raise of hands, have used ChatGPT? Whoa, beautiful, right? How many of you have heard of Copilot? Ah, lovely, I have some work to do, okay? Now, the very fact that most of your hands were up for the first question talks about the fact that the era of AI is here. If you all heard the leaders of the World Economic Forum at Davos, they clearly said that the planet is entering the next generation, and this is the generation being led by AI. It's going to impact every individual, it's going to impact teams, it's going to impact organizations, if used in the right manner positively, and all of that will actually help to build the economy of the country. When we talk of AI, there are 3 aspects which we need to keep in mind. One is using the AI as it is out of the box within the products. So when I asked the question, how many of you have heard of Copilots or used Copilots, I saw 50–40% of the hands going up. That's Copilots. That's using the product as it is, AI-led, a digital assistant within the product, and I will demonstrate that to you. The other one is to use the technology and the platform and the models to build AI in the way it will help you work in an organization. It can be on any aspects. Tell me what the forecast should be. Tell me based on this, how much should the production be? Tell me how much of ordering did I need to do? Okay? Tell me whether I should approve or disapprove this particular claim. Tell me whether this is a fraudulent loan or not. And while doing all of this, the third very important aspect is ethical AI, responsible AI. But let me just very quickly try and demonstrate what all AI can do for you. Now, this is a very simple aspect. You can today ask AI to help you fix a bulb, because AI can see, it can read, it can hear, and it can talk back to you. So this is a capturing of a live demo. I just took the picture and put it there and said, help me fix this. The first thing it did is it put a caption and says, I have identified this as a white globe lamp out there, right? And the moment I put this particular question and I say, I need to change the bulb, can you help me do it? ChatGPT very quickly identifies who I am and then gives me a list of instructions one by one. And it's very interesting. It takes care because it also says, if the lamp was on while you ask me this question, so please take time to cool down the lamp. And then as you go through it, it basically says that you got to take the lamp up, unscrew the lamp. And then when I ask the question, it tells me to give an image of how it looks like. And the moment I give the image of how it looks like, it identifies what's the kind of bulb which can go inside it and gives me that. And when I say, these are the 2 bulbs which I have, now tell me how do I fix the bulb and which bulb to choose, it then try and understands and relates that particular bulb to that particular socket and says, use the right-hand bulb because that's the one which will fix it. Correct? So simple. It could interact with me in the language which I wanted to interact with and do it. Let me quickly change things. Copilot, a few of you put your hands up. Copilot is an AI digital assistant which is there in every solution of Microsoft, whether you use Windows, whether you use the browser Edge, whether you use Bing, whether you use Office 365, which is a productivity suite or a collaborative suite. So let's just give you a very, very simple example of how it helps in day-to-day work. Okay? So I write an email in the morning to a couple of my team members. Okay? And this email talks about a particular aspects which I want to discuss with them. I go and try doing my work, and when I come back after a couple of hours, I see a lot of people have replied on that email. Sounds familiar? Correct? All of you have seen it? And then you see nested emails, you see 17, 18 emails. What I do is I just go to Copilot and say, summarize it for me and draft a response. And then I can say, the response needs to be formal and it needs to be short. Okay? And just look at what Copilot does. It basically creates the entire response. I can either edit it further or just keep it and send it. So I decide the response looks good, I send it, and the email goes out to everybody, and you can see out there, an email is out there. Correct? Just think of it. Instead of going through 17 emails, it just saves me time. It's just one example, just one simple example on how Copilot could help you. With that, why don't I ask you the question, do you use Copilot?
I do use Copilot. Why don't you please have a seat, a huge round of applause for these two demos. We're going to geek out a little bit right now. Now, you guys answered whether you use ChatGPT or Google Bard or Gemini. But when you use these generative AI tools, how many of you guys trust the results blindly? Show of hands. Put your hands up. That's what we're going to get to really figure out how these models can be trained on perhaps more superior data sets with more safeguards, checks and balances. But let's really simplify it, Vyshak. You actually did a live image generation. If I had typed, show me the India Today Conclave taking place in Kittilä in Finland, it could have possibly generated something like that as well right here.
Yes, absolutely.
But now tell me, isn't that a concern? Because OpenAI is a company that came up with ChatGPT, Dolly, a big Microsoft connection there as well. And now they've come up with Sora. Sora is going to be, in simple words, live video generation, 1-minute videos, putting a lot of us behind the cameras and out here, well, at least in a little bit of, under a little bit of pressure, because that's what Sora can do. The OpenAI CTO comes out in an interview yesterday, day before, and says, we're not quite sure where those images and videos are coming from. That's a matter of concern. I mean, are you just picking it off my Instagram profile, my YouTube videos? Where are you getting all that data from, Vyshak? Where's Adobe getting the data?
Yeah, thank you, Ayush. We firmly believe that it's absolutely important to see through what you're feeding the AI. What we do is we put immense amount of effort, due diligence, ethics committee, to make sure that what goes in to our Firefly image model is safe for use. And all these assets that we have trained our AI on, we have the license for them. It makes sure that whatever comes out of our image generation models are safe to use. We haven't fed any celebrity into it, so you will never see any celebrity out of it. Okay. We haven't fed anything not safe for work into it, so you will never see anything out of that. So it's important to understand the AI that you use, where have they sourced their data from, and is it commercially safe for all of us to use?
Samik, Microsoft's been right up there in the AI race, and you guys have been doing a lot of work here in India as well. Explain to us what we just discussed. Ethical AI, responsible AI, are these just terms that we should be talking about? Or is there real work that's happening? Is there practice to back this theory?
Sure. So I think you used two very, very important terms. And if you go back to the presentation, I talked about 3 imperatives of AI. Using AI as it is out of the box product like Copilot, building AI frameworks using the model, and across all of them is responsible or ethical AI. Now, this is a constantly evolving thing as people learn as well, and it will change. But as of now, we believe that there are 6 principles which are very important in ethical AI. Okay. That's accountability, transparency, inclusion, fairness, scalability, and privacy and security. And there's a lot of work which is happening. There are white papers which are written out there. There are governments which are looking at rules and regulations. Yesterday, actually, the first regulation was passed in Europe, I mean, even if you look at the DPDP bill, these are all aspects which are going towards the right rules and regulations and creating the frameworks for technology to be used in the right purpose. Now, the very important aspect out here is to ensure that you train the model on the right set of data. And that's where accountability and responsibility are.
But how do you
comes in.
train the model on the right set of data? This is publicly available data.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the responses that come on ChatGPT, and I'm sure people will vouch for that, sound like data sets, of course, which are trained on maybe 2022, 23, whatever the limitation is,
Yeah.
but really superior versions of Google search or Bing search.
Yeah. So it's how you put the guardrails when you implement the AI within your organization. So let's say I have created an AI-enabled interface for any consumer to come and interact with me. And when I do that, I got to tell the model that you got to only answer questions which are within the reliance of the data that I'm feeding you, and this is the data of the organization. So this does not go and breach any protection, any privacy of anybody else, correct? So when you ask the question, and you can go and try it, you ask a particular set of questions, it will only give you answers of that particular organization. The moment you ask, so can you please tell me what is the cost of this product of that particular company, it says, it will give you an answer to say, sorry, that is not what I can do. So that's where responsible and ethics really come in.
It's interesting because while we are talking about generative AI, it's not like these big tech companies haven't faltered, right? We saw what happened with Google over the past couple of weeks. So many biases, so much prejudice, and largely a lot of these tech companies are training these AI models, which might be the future of human civilization, on Western values and data sets. And this has been an issue, right? Even when you take a photo on a top smartphone, the way it corrects color for a person of color as opposed to a person in the West is a big contentious issue in the tech world.
Absolutely. So yes, there are challenges which we cannot oversee, right? First one you mentioned, which is harmful bias. It's a real challenge, right? And second one obviously is deepfakes as well. You had a mention about an example of that. So harmful bias, I can give you an example. At Adobe, you might think, yes, we are a technology company. Of course, our strength is to actually create intellectual property rights for technology. For generative AI, a large part of our workforce who are actually involved in generative AI, you think they are engineers. Yes, there are lots of engineers. But more than that, it's the people who actually make sure that there is due diligence done to make sure the biases are actually not influenced in every single step. It's a lot of effort, but our values make sure that we follow that particular suite. If you notice that we were not the first one to get into market with the generative AI model, but it's important to make sure that the harmful biases is not perpetuating whatever is being said there in the data set that's being followed in. Talking about deepfakes, yes, it can sway decisions, and there are real threats out there for sure. So
I mean, we are in an election year.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's important to actually acknowledge that there will be always bad actors. So our approach towards that is, how do we empower good actors with tools and techniques so that before the content is consumed, they know how this content was produced. Is it trustworthy? What is the life cycle of this particular content, a video, an image, or whatever that is, and whether the AI has been used, whether human has altered images and whatnot. So basically, I'm sure you will get this. You get a nutrition label on the content before you consume it so that you know where this is sourced and what all content is actually in there. So that's the way we look forward to actually fight deepfakes out there.
Okay, macronutrients in the digital world, carbs, calories, fats, all of that. But it's very interesting because the conversation, and sometimes, all of us tech folk in the media are blamed for it, saying this is fear-mongering. We're talking about AI being a fear-based discourse as opposed to a hope-based discourse, right? So I want to pose this question to you, Samik. Do you think it is more of a fear-based discourse now, but the kind of work you guys are doing with the guardrails you guys promise, it should be more of a hope-based discourse in light of the classical argument? Will AI, especially with what OpenAI is doing with Sora and Google's doing with some of their platforms, will it take away my job? And all of us, and I'm asking this collectively for the entire audience and everyone watching at home as well.
Yeah, I think your question is very valid, and I'm sure it's on the minds of the entire audience. But let me take a step back. This is an interesting discussion which comes out every single time there is an invention out there. When steam engine was invented, people said, oh my God, locomotion will take away so many jobs. After that, the electricity got invented, the second industrial revolution, and people said, oh, all the manual processes are going to be now automated and jobs will go away. Then came computers, the internet, and people said, oh, now computers will take away all the jobs. When e-commerce came, people said the brick and mortar stores will close. When OTT came, people said nobody will go to halls anymore and the film industry is doomed. But let's just step back. When computers came in, today is the womb, India is the womb of the IT industry of the world. IT became a vertical and an industry and has a ministry and has a significant contribution to the GDP of the country. It didn't take jobs away. So it's a similar discussion right now. And look, the fear is valid, but this is about the elasticity of the job market. What I would say is it needs skilling, okay, and reskilling. Now, the good part of AI is that it reduces the learning curve a lot, so people can learn faster. You know, a difference between the previous era and this era is, in the previous era, we used computers and automation to bring information at your fingertips. That's what people try to do. They try to digitize places, they try to digitize people, they try to digitize data. In this era, it is about expertise at your fingertips. So even a common person, by using a lot of these AI-generated models, can produce better results. So skilling will be very, very important, and redeployment. That's what I would say.
Yeah, just want to add to that. So absolutely. So we also believe the same, which is AI and the powerful child of AI, which is generative AI, will lower the floor so that more people can actually enter. It will democratize creativity, right, to a large extent. At the same time, it will also elevate the ceiling so that we are all will be driven with the help of enablement and education, as Samik mentioned. The professionals will be elevated to actually up-level the quality of work. And that is what has happened in any other transformational wave of technology which has come to us. It has always amplified and progressed the human race in longer terms.
So that's interesting. So by that yardstick, are you telling me the Writers Guild on strike in Hollywood, or all the protesters outside tech conferences in Europe whenever we visit, don't have justified fears? Is that what you're saying? Because what you're trying to tell me is if you embrace it, you're good. And then a follow-up question to that would be, if you're embracing this AI revolution, all of us, then does that mean the ones that don't would really be left behind in the next 5 years or 10 years? What does that mean for all of us who perhaps don't want it and want to live under a rock, because that might be the one way to stay disconnected?
Yeah, so the only reference we have is the history. What has happened with other transformational way of technology, right? It's absolutely fine to have fears about it. It's absolutely okay to be a little shy from putting that into practice and stuff like that. But we all have to dip our toes in so that it benefits us as individuals, as organization in the long term. We firmly believe in that, and I'm not, in any way actually, I don't want to actually downplay the protest or the questions that are coming up, but it's important to dip your toes in right now and understand how this can be applied to your own life to actually make it progressful, progress your businesses as your individual careers and so on and so forth. It's important to understand it and embrace it so that it enables you to fast forward into your future.
We can't have a conversation on AI without educating and entertaining everyone as well. Samik, the last one's to you. This is a really important theme, artificial general intelligence. You will hear this over the next few months and years, AGI. Now, this is something I personally think, if it's in the wrong hands, and Samik will explain what it is, could be, well, something that would be a double whammy for us, right? We could have major issues. This could be something which could destroy everything as we know it. If you could explain to us very quickly, what is artificial general intelligence and why should we be worried if Sam Altman or Elon Musk says that they have achieved artificial general intelligence?
Everybody is talking about different timelines, and the timelines are not known. It can be a couple of years, it can be 5 years, it can be 10 years. But basically, the fundamental of this is that we will create intelligence which far supersedes human intelligence.
So the AI becomes smarter than all of us in this room.
Then smarter than all of us. But I will just step back and say, see, these are all tools and technologies for human beings to use. How you use a particular thing depends on us at the end of the day. They are not going to overtake us, right? And that's where it comes back to ethical AI, it comes back to responsible AI. And as I said, these are evolving things. As you discover new things, there'll be new guardrails, there'll be new rules, there'll be new regulations that will come in, okay? I mean, just look at ChatGPT. It took 3 months to reach 100 million users worldwide, 3 months. Just to give you a perspective, internet took 7 years, and mobile phones, which is the most touched device by each one of us, took 16 years, correct? The ChatGPT. So it's just telling you how fast people are using it because they see a value in it, and they're able to do things faster. So all of it will come back to the use of AI ethically, responsibly, under the right guardrails, and then things are fine. I think my colleague said a very nice thing. Adopt it ethically, and see the benefits.
Okay, so one very quick thing before we wrap up. One word answers. If the AI revolution and that wave is coming our way to disrupt everyone's life sitting in this room, and you as AI experts, what is that one word that you really think will make sure that this is a safe and an inclusive revolution? One word from your end.
I would confidently say embrace it.
Embrace it. Samik?
Embrace it with responsible AI guardrails.
Embrace it to enhance. And I'm guessing you guys are much wiser in terms of AI as well. We'll all be taking questions even later. Thank you so much for being a lovely audience, and thank you for being a stellar panel here at the India Today Conclave.
Thank you so much.